Hello and welcome to Comprehension Points Video Snark. I'm continuing my Sarcastic book review of The Mister by E.L. James. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 11. As Elisa wakes up in the darkness, she again reflects on the idea that she's been taken away from her safety net by a man that she barely knows. Max ushers her inside and helps her with her coat. He tells her that this place is called the Hideout, and that it's some family property that they ran out. All Elisa can think about is how huge it is and that it must take hours to clean it. He asks her if she wants anything to eat or drink and then offers her wine or beer, which seems like an amazing idea. Let's take the terrified lady who is trafficked and currently being hunted down and offer her liquor. That should make the situation better. He shows her around the common area a little bit. He tells her that she can play the piano whenever she wants to, but she's more interested when Max mentions that the sea is just outside the big bay window. However, since it's dark, she can't see anything right now, but Elisa says that she's never seen the ocean before, and Max says that they'll have to go down tomorrow. Max takes her upstairs to her room, where Elisa seems a tiny bit disappointed that she's not going to be sharing a bed with him. Not touching on that. In the bedroom, Elisa looks at their reflections in the mirror. She notes that she looks scruffy and unpolished standing next to him and wonders what he sees in her. She can't stop thinking about the sight of Caroline wearing Max's shirt that one morning. Max tells her that he knows that this is sudden and that they barely know one another, but that he couldn't sit by and let Dante hunt her down like that. He promises that he isn't going to touch her unless she wants him to. He tells her that his room is next to hers if she needs anything, and then leaves. Back downstairs, Max thinks about everything that happened within the span of a single day. He still wants her and kind of wants to go back upstairs to her, but keeps reminding himself that she's off limits, that the last thing she needs is his inability to keep it in his pants. He eventually goes upstairs to go to bed, but wants to check in on her first. Instead of finding her peacefully sleeping like he had been imagining, she's crying on the floor. He contemplates if he should leave her alone, but eventually goes in and comforts her. Despite him saying that he wasn't going to touch her without her permission, he takes her into his arms. She cries against him until she literally cries herself to sleep. He puts her into bed and then goes to his own room where he goes to sleep, but Elisa's screams wake him sometime later. And is it my imagination, or was this chapter a lot shorter than the others? Chapter 12. Max is disoriented to be awoken in the middle of the night, but when Elisa continues to scream, he bolts out of bed and runs to her. She's babbling in Albanian, and somebody please tell me that this is Google Translate Albanian. Things like this usually are. But he comforts her and asks her what's wrong. She says that it's dark, so dark. She says that she woke up from a nightmare and it was too dark. Says that it was pitch black like that in the truck used to transport them. Max tells her that the obvious solution is that she should come and sleep in bed with him. He then points out that in her distress she'd fallen asleep in her jeans and sweater and maybe she should change for bed. Elisa shyly says that she's never slept in a bed with Guy before, but Max is quick to say that it'll be for sleep only, for if she wakes up screaming again, then he'll be right there. Except he was literally in the room next door, and his response time was fairly quick. There is no reason to force her into this kind of situation just so that the characters can dirty up the sheets. I won't touch you. This is just sleep. So the next time you scream, I'll be right there. Of course, I'd like to make her scream in a different way. This book tries so hard to have Max constantly remind himself that Elisa is off limits because of her trauma, but then it gets negative points for constantly saying stuff like that, and then almost immediately having Max thirsting after Elisa anyway. Max is also a little taken aback by her saying that she's never slept with a guy before, especially because she's 23. And please don't let this turn into one of those creepy purity culture things like with 50 Shades. Please. Max leaves Elisa to change into her pajamas. As she's doing so, she thinks about her nightmare and where she was in the truck, but she was alone, and obviously Max came and saved her from that. She thinks about sharing the bed with Max and then what her parents would think. And I'd probably be okay with the idea that her parents would be disappointed in her for sharing a bed with a man who isn't her husband, if not for the fact that James has been trying way too hard to make Elisa into a naive country bumpkin who doesn't know what a credit card is. Elisa goes into Max's room where she finally gets a good look at his tattoo. She caught a glimpse of it when she saw him for the first time, but she was more distressed about catching a strange man naked in bed. The tattoo features a two-headed eagle, which Elisa says is on the Albanian flag. She asks him why he has this specific tattoo, but Max doesn't want to tell her that it's his family crest. He did it when he was younger to piss his mother off, but how could she complain when it was the family crest? They get into bed and go to sleep. Max has a dream about Elisa. When he wakes up, she's curled against him with their legs entangled, and, little Max is exceptionally happy about that. He thinks about rolling her over and having his way with her, but he refrains. Elisa wakes up and he asks if she's hungry and says that he is, although he's also thinking about how he's hungry for Elisa. Ugh. He tells her that she looks desirable and asks if she's a virgin. However, it's not the fact that Elisa is off limits because of her trauma that cools Max's libido down. It's the fact that she's a virgin. And what did I say about not wanting purity culture in this? Max thinks about how his father once took him to a brothel when he was 15. I am not touching that with a 39.5-foot pole. He tells Elisa that he wants her, but he wants for her to want him too, and he's going to pump the brakes for a while to get to know one another. And I'm in favor of getting to know somebody before jumping into bed with them. I said it a lot during 50 Shades, but the only thing Christian and Anna seemed to have in common was their physical attraction to one another, and after a while their bedroom activities seemed to be the only thing keeping them together. In the shower, Max thinks about Elisa's status as a virgin. He wonders if she's just that religious or if it's more of a cultural norm in Albania. He wonders if she's looking for something long-term. This prompts him to think about his longest relationships, neither lasting more than 8 months. One of them was a serious social climber who settled for somebody with a higher status than Max. The other was a serious drug user, and the less Max had heard about her, she was in rehab. Again. We jump over to Lisa in the other bathroom as she gets a shower. She briefly thinks about how amazing that the bathroom is and how she kind of doesn't want to leave. And then she has still a fun times while thinking about Max. She admits that he makes her feel safe, especially after inviting her to sleep in bed with him to keep her nightmares away. She knows that Dante and his friend are still out there looking for her, but she tries not to go down that path. Elisa thinks about how in Albania men only socialize with other men and women only socialize with other women, the only exception being your immediate family. Since she's an only child, she doesn't have a lot of experience with men. And again, I don't know much about Albanian culture, but what am I supposed to do if my research proves that this isn't true? This is a story that James wrote, and complaining about culture that she might have made up isn't going to fix the bad novel. She gets dressed and goes downstairs. She's caught off guard by the sight of Max dancing a little as he cooks them breakfast. In Albania, according to her, men don't do either of those things. However, she's distracted from him and breakfast by the sight out the window. She's so excited to see the ocean for the first time that she just steps outside, despite how cold it is, the fact that her hair is wet from the shower, and that she isn't wearing a jacket or shoes. Max eventually distracts her with the promise of getting to eat breakfast outside, but he needs to finish cooking the eggs first. She offers to help him. After breakfast, which they didn't eat outside, Max calls somebody from the main estate and asks for warm socks, a warm coat, and walking shoes so that they can go down to the beach. Elisa says that she has a coat, but she doesn't really mention anything else. She inwardly thinks that Dante had taken their belongings and then gone on to destroy even the things that the girls had been wearing. Max says that he'll clean up breakfast and orders her upstairs to dry her hair with a hairdryer that was reported to have been up there. Elisa gets kind of angry with Max ordering her not to clean up breakfast and fumes about it as she dries her hair. She thinks that Max sounded like her father, who was always bitter and angry that his only child was a girl. Charlie Swan would not approve of this nonsense. She goes downstairs to work out her anger on the piano. When she finishes, Max tells her that her playing was beautiful and apologizes if he did something to offend her earlier. She says that he didn't do anything wrong. Then they go down to the beach where Elisa screams about it with the utmost glee. Max is just happy to see her so happy and excited. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because sometimes I drop random videos on other days too. You can like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single video. While you're waiting for the next video, you can go check out all my other videos. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, then you can find even more Snarks on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month, plus you get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, you either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on Tumblr if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have 19 erotic short stories, 1 short story collection, and 1 full-length novel. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!